and today I'm here with Kayla Smith, and we're going to be talking about the Niagara region.
So the Niagara region has released a pretty neat tool for investors. This is Niagara Signature Sites, but you can see as an example, so this is, let's say you're a big Welland investor. This is in Welland. It's giving you the contact information right there. I'm going to go through some deals. One thing that I'm seeing a lot more, turnkey investments and tenanted with A+ tenants are pretty sought after these days. Whereas before it was like, I want it vacant. I want to be able to BRRRR it. I want to be able to do all these things with it. Now I'm seeing a lot of investors just want to set it and forget it.
Yeah, so we've been talking about the word boring on here lately in a couple of our market updates. And I love the word boring when it comes to real estate because boring means predictable.
This is every single multifamily that exists in Niagara.
Welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I'm Adam J.D. Martin, your host, and today I'm here with Kayla Smith, and we're going to be talking about the Niagara region. Kayla, we took the summer off. What's been going on in your region? What's going on in real estate today?
It is a bit wonky for the PG-13 version.
Okay.
It is a little slower than what we would expect, but keeping in mind, obviously, there's seasonality with that. Lots of people are enjoying their summer. Big time buyer's market. Unless it's a super, super sought after like location or the house is gorgeous or whatever it is for a great price. We're seeing some houses sell in 30 seconds. We're seeing some houses take a year. So it's a bit of all over the place.
Okay. I hear you. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons too why we took the summer off is because we always thought, like in real estate, we noticed that like almost nothing happens during the summer, and it's kind of counterintuitive. But I think once you're in the industry a little while, you realize either as an investor or as an agent, or if you're just a homeowner, like there's very little volume that transacts, very little sales. And honestly, the selection kind of sucks. So that's why we always get excited for this fall market. So yeah, what are some things you're looking forward to in the fall market? What were the stats like this week?
You know what, I always find that the last 2 weeks of August is a bit of an opportunity. Only because you have the people that are just trying to slightly beat fall market that are listing. And then we have a lot of people away to enjoy the kind of the last weekend of summer. So we find it slow, but there's a little bit more to choose from. So like one of my clients just picked up a fully rented 2-unit for $585 in like a great location.
Wow.
So it's, there's a few things like that where if no one's looking, you have a bit of an opportunity there. So I do like the last 2 weeks of summer. The rest of it is pretty slow for obvious reasons. And it's also a bit difficult for sellers if you have kids to have your house listed and show it at its, best potential when your kids are always around and you have to find a babysitter or something like that. So I find that the summer does take a bit of a toll on real estate just in general, but fall market is always busy, like spring and fall, obviously for us from a seasonality standpoint. I think the third week of September is when we'll really start to see things rush onto the market. I think people like to get their bearings with back to school and all that stuff. But I think we'll see a lot come up for 2 reasons. One being that people are still feeling the pain of interest rates, despite the fact that they've come down ever so slightly. But we do have an announcement coming up as well. So it's kind of like a perfect storm. You have the people that are still in a position where, it's a little bit too painful for them to keep their real estate. And then you have the people that are seeing an opportunity because the rates are starting to come down. So I'll be really interested to see what happens with that.
Yeah, I know. I'm really looking forward to that next announcement. I think it's September 4th or 5th there. And we're looking at, I think the general sentiment is it's probably another drop, but who knows if that's a quarter or half. But I'm definitely looking forward to it.
That's a big deal. Well, not a big deal. It's a bigger deal, obviously. But any little bit counts at the moment.
Yeah. And I would say like, in terms of like risk management, I think rates are actually at a pretty like decent position now. Like, I don't think they're super outrageously high. Like, if you look at the 80s and rates are at 19%, like that's problematic for affordability in a serious way. Where like here, like you can still get a mortgage at, you know, somewhere between 4 and 6%, depending on your credit and who you're borrowing from. So like, it's not the end of the world, but for sure it has impacted pricing, right? And certainly you see that in the supply that's on the market and how fast it's moving.
The one thing I will say, so I have a client that just got a 4.5 on a 3-year for a rental yesterday.
Yeah,
So I'm a
great.
big
I mean, it's hard to honestly ask for a lot better than that. Like,
Yeah.
sure, 3% would be great, but when you think about 4% money, like
Yeah.
most of our projects and most of my experience in my portfolio, we're talking about 10%, right? You're borrowing privately and obviously go to refinance that later. But 4.5% in terms of affordability is honestly not a terrible rate, especially
Yeah.
on a rental that's an income producing property, right?
So definitely trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about. And if you watched the other video, you already knew this. So the Niagara region has released a pretty neat tool, I think, for investors, in addition to one that they've already had, which is the Niagara Navigator, which I will go through as well. We're going to talk about some deals, and it's crazy to say, but my single family investors are kind of trickling back into the market.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a different profile of investors. Usually older people that, you know, are making good money. They're nearing the end of their careers, but it has been an interesting, you know, to see that come back. And then some commercial opportunities, like I mentioned. So jumping into this. So this is a new tool. So it's called Niagara Signature Sites. It's an interactive, so it's created by the region, by Niagara Economic Development. So it's an interactive mapping tool showcasing prime industrial and commercial opportunities across Niagara, developed by Niagara Region Strategic Growth Services and Economic Development in collaboration with local municipalities and private sector partners. These sites were selected based on their strategic location, permitted use, and size, with a minimum requirement of 50 plus acres. Tailored for investors and developers, this user-friendly tool offers invaluable insights into each featured site's development potential. Join us.
Interesting.
Of Niagara's economic landscape. So
yeah,
that's
pretty forward thinking, from the region.
Yeah, I'm a little bit, I don't want to say I'm surprised, because the region, like Niagara Navigator, is a really neat tool as well, and I'll show both of them in a second. But you can see all these little I guess bullet points there, like, that are marked, and those are all sites that they're welcoming investment into, that fit these few little you know, these little things over there. But it's definitely a new direction, I think, that the region's going in, to invite people to invest in these sites, to bring these sites to, you know, the general public. So if you're a larger investor or developer, this could really fit and help what you're doing. So first I'm going to show Niagara Navigator, and then I'm going to show Niagara Signature Sites. Okay, so Niagara Navigator, we've talked about this a fair bit, but I just want to make sure that, again, everyone is aware of it, because it's a super, super great tool. This just basically, if you're buying an investment property and you want to know what's happening around it, this will show you where wineries are. This will show you where schools are, daycares, large economic projects in terms of, like, maybe they're redoing a water line. If you're doing an Airbnb and they're building, you know, a mass waste facility beside it, this will tell you that, so you know. And it'll just tell you through, you just have to check off layers. Oh, they've actually updated it since I've last been in it, so that's good. Airports, cemeteries, if that's not your thing, early on centers, homeless shelters, which obviously can severely affect the value of your property. So this is one that, if you're looking to invest in Niagara, I would highly, highly recommend that you go in here, put your address in, click off all of these things that you might be interested in, and take a look at where these things are. You can see there's a plane there, because that's an airport. So that is Niagara Navigator. It is super, super helpful. And I actually don't know, like, I'm originally from Hamilton. I don't know a lot of other cities that have this. I don't know, maybe
No, like London has an interactive zoning map, but it doesn't include all of these nice features like one example there that you just brought up, which is really important for investing, is like the homeless shelter, right? One of the nicest properties that I ever looked at investing in was in Windsor, Ontario. And it was this gorgeous house, like just incredible old, like Tudor style brick house. And it was so stunning, and it could have made such a great property. And on Google, even if you search the property on Google, for whatever reason, there was like a homeless shelter like right there, and it didn't come up on Google. It wasn't labeled correctly. And it wasn't until I went to actually see the property that I noticed that there was like a really bad issue on the streets there.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, like 10 doors down. Like it was something you couldn't possibly ignore. Yeah. And it honestly just had such an impact on the investment itself. So I think like tools like this are extraordinarily useful, especially if you're not from the area. If you don't know Niagara specifically, and maybe you're looking to invest there because the numbers are fantastic, but you don't you don't know the specific neighborhood that well, tools like this are super useful to save you some time so that you can pre-check properties before you even go out to see them in person. So if it passes a test like this takes 10 minutes to look at a property or less. And then you can go and actually decide if that property is qualified for your investing strategy after you see where it is. So I love tools like this.
Yeah, this one is super fun. So that is Niagara Navigator, and now I'll jump to the other one. Okay, so this is Niagara Signature Sites. Now, this is a very, very new thing that was just released, but you can see as an example, so this is, let's say you're a big Welland investor. This is in Welland. It's giving you the contact information right there of what it is. And then of course you have the same kind of, you know, same ideas that you can click and unclick different things here if you want to. Or here, if you're looking at, you know, these are industrial sites. So if you're looking at, you know, you're going to buy something, but you don't want to be near a very large industrial development. Well, now you know that maybe these areas, or you do, it depends. These areas might not be for you. Port Colborne, Acres 220, rural employment lands. Again, then you have your contact. So again, if you're a developer, if you're a larger investor, this is going to be extremely helpful for you, especially if you're interested in investing with the Niagara region, which is a little bit different than when you buy these lands and do it yourself. So
yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. So, and usually if I can't say this with 100% certainty, but usually if the government is saying like, hey, this is a site, they've done some background research on it, that they believe in it enough to put it on this Niagara economic development site.
Well, look, at the very least, it shows you the direction they're trying to go, right?
Yeah.
Like it tells you that they want to have that area developed. Yeah. And that's why they're going to showcase that property. It's almost like a vetted area, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So wanted to share this with everyone because I thought it was super interesting. Usually I put the news in here, and while I was looking at the news, I was like, this is kind of way cooler than any of it. There's a lot of economic development in the area. There's a large things happening in Welland, large things happening in Port Colborne, but I think everyone's aware of this stuff. I don't think many people know this exists, so I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention.
I've certainly never seen it or heard it talked about, so that's fantastic. Thank you, Kayla.
No problem. I'm going to go through some deals, as I always do.
Deals.
In a little bit of a different order this time, but one thing that I'm seeing a lot more is house hacking in the 3 and 4 unit space, because obviously you're getting more money. 2, turnkey investments are, and with tenanted with A+ tenants, are pretty sought after these days. Whereas before it was like, I want it vacant, I want to be able to BRRRR it, I want to be able to do all these things with it. Now I'm seeing a lot of investors just want to set it and forget it.
Yeah.
So this is a fully permitted, fully renovated, A+ tenants. It's a legal duplex with a legal ADU. So the garage was actually turned into a unit. They're all really nice units. The income is $43.90. The tenants pay all of the utilities, and they take care of grass as well. It works, like the numbers when I ran them, it works. Obviously, it depends on everyone's specific situation, so run your own numbers. But you know, it's in a nice area in Welland as well. And I mean, it's pretty easy. It's pretty boring, to be honest, but that's not a bad thing. And there is existing property management for anyone that wanted to take that, like if someone doesn't want to manage their own property. And, you know, upgraded electrical, plumbing, HVAC. It's just a pretty easy one.
Yeah, so we've been talking about the word boring on here lately in a couple of our market updates. And I love the word boring when it comes to real estate, because boring means predictable, and predictable means that we can use a spreadsheet to get a really close understanding and approximation of what the investment's going to do for ourselves. And one reason that people might consider turnkey investments right now is there's less inherent risk. You know the numbers going in, which means you can predict the cash flow and the expenses pretty well. Once you understand what your mortgage and your other operating costs are going to be, it's pretty easy to predict that investment. And in a high inflationary environment where money's super cheap and money's being printed aggressively, it can make a lot of sense to buy properties that are in disrepair and then essentially force appreciation into them through strategic renovations. Whereas these turnkey investments right now, where you're not really sure what's going to happen with price or what's going to happen to the rates entirely, this is a great way to take advantage of leverage without having to dent your liquidity so much. So if you just put down 5% on this property and live in one part of it, or you put down 20%, keep it as a duplex, you really have a predictable notion of what the cash flow is going to be like. And it's way less risk and way less liquidity than buying a property that's in disrepair, putting down 5 or 20%, and then putting in $50,000 to $100,000 to renovate it. So I think that's a really good reason why you as a viewer might want to at least think about if turnkey's for you, where it's kind of counter to a lot of the content we produce on this channel where we're talking about forcing appreciation and strategic renovations. But there is like a real good actual case for why people buy it. So something to think about. Thanks, Kayla.
Yeah, and if I was young and hip and I was buying a house hack, this would certainly work. I would probably live in the Bachelor and rent the 2 beds, because that's where the money's going to be made. Not to say obviously you want to be comfortable, but it's these are usually short-term house hacks. Short-term meaning, you know, the 2 to 5 years usually. So that's the road I would take. This one's also a little bit boring, but again, I'm seeing more and more people look for boring. So this is similar idea. So you have a legal duplex with an ADU. So 3 units again, you have 2 beds, 1 bed, all permitted, fully renovated. Units are quite nice, A+ tenants. 1 unit is vacant at the moment. Income was $4620. The tenants pay hydro, and then water and gas are included with a cap. There is a very large 2-car garage back there that you can see, which can technically be, if ADUs are your thing, could be converted. But, you know, this is so $750, $4620, another house hack opportunity. Pretty boring, but I think a lot of people are into boring right now. So I wanted to show everyone this one. This is also in Welland.
Nice. And that vacancy does obviously offer opportunities to get good high market rents, right? So even at that 46 before, I think you should reasonably expect to be able to beat that if you have a new tenant at market rent. So
and this is also an opportunity to
great.
start putting the utilities, like all of the utilities, onto the tenants, as opposed to the way that, you know, it's done now. So with that new tenant coming in, you could do a percentage of based off square footage, which would slowly start to remove the burden of that utility with a cap instead of you paying it.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. You mentioned that, right? There's only 2 ways to increase your cash flow. It's either increase the revenue, which you can do with that vacancy, or decrease the cost, which obviously is accessible as well. So you can do both at the same time there. Great point.
That's that one. Like I said, we have cute little first-time home buyer / single family rentals coming back.
I love it.
Yeah, you know what? I've had 3 people who I helped buy previously single family rentals come back, and they're looking at them again. It's obviously, usually these people come with a little bit more to put down. They're, like I said, usually further on in their careers. So it allows for them cash flow. This one actually is like a break-even play if you were to buy it just with the 20% down. Fully renovated, it's small, the lot's nice, everything's renovated, all new appliances. It's in a great area. The tenants, and the nice thing about single family rentals, obviously the cash flow is a lot less. However, your tenants take on a lot more than they usually would in a multi. Like, this is their house, this is their home. So they're paying all of the utilities. They're doing, in many cases, they are agreeing to take care of the house, the snow, grass, all of that stuff in a separate agreement. So I just wanted to show this. And also for first-time home buyers, if you're looking to get into the market, but your budget's not super high, these are the houses that allow you to do the next thing. So keep that in mind when you're looking. It doesn't have to be, your first house doesn't have to be, the best and final. It can be something small and inexpensive to kind of pave the way for the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. And these little spaces are fantastic for experimenting on how you want to do renovations as well. Like, you get the full understanding of project management in here without a lot of the really large blunders. Like, if you make a mistake on a 3,000 square foot house, you're probably making it in a much larger area with a much larger and more expensive piece of material.
Yeah.
Whereas in these little areas, if you screw up the kitchen or you screw up one cabinet, it's like a $300 mistake and you can just learn it right there and never do it again. I'm speaking from experience.
Yeah,
everybody should remember my Princess Avenue videos where I was like, oh my God, I made colossal mistakes. Well, that was a 700 square foot house as well. And it was absolutely the perfect place to learn and make mistakes in. So, and actually really profitable venture. So it's possible to make good money actually on these smaller properties without having to have that capital requirement to buy a huge property.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that one. And then there's 21 Acadia, which is a really, really cute bungalow. It's in a great area. There's strong renovated comps. This one can do a whole bunch of stuff. There's a side door right to the basement. I still think the BRRRR is a thing. I have clients doing one right now. I caution people that it's not going to be a full BRRRR.
Yeah.
You're going to take out some of your money, not all of it, but that's still pretty damn good. If you can take out, let's say, your down payment and you leave your reno money in there.
Yep.
I mean, that's a pretty decent opportunity. So this one, again, it's just been well loved. It's a one owner home. I love those because that means that they've taken great care of it in most cases. So yeah, that's that one. And I'm just going to go right into this one because this one's the same thing. This one is priced higher. This one I'm showing for Househack. It doesn't work for many other things, but for a Househack, which this is in a wonderful area, and I know I'm from Thorold, so I'm extremely biased, but it's on a lovely, lovely street. It's a big house. It's on a double lot. Again, a one owner home. It's dated, but in a way that's still perfectly livable. So you can do your renos over time. And it already has the unit in the basement. So again, this is one where if you're house hacking, I would be looking at stuff like this because there is still some lift here. And you're going to live in this probably a bit longer than what you would live in if you're living in like a 4 unit as an example. So that is that one. So those are just, all very different because I feel like the market's in a place where there's a lot of people doing different things. And then, you know what? There's a lot of people doing absolutely nothing. So
yeah,
that's the balance we're in right now.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the nothing side of this coin. So like, I've been trying to find a house for my grandparents for the last little while and looking at new listings every day. I check 3 times a day. I set an alarm on my phone. Great practice for you guys at home. If you're looking, just go update realtor.ca or MLS, go check 3 times a day, see what's going on in the market. You can quickly understand little shifts in the market as well as see the new inventory first. And let me tell you, it is sparse. It is hard to find good opportunities in this market. And that's where in a previous life, we created a whole business out of this type of market, right? With the wholesaling company. And really the takeaways or the lessons learned from that is what we branded as problems or profits. Like in markets like this, where you're not seeing a lot on the market and there's no inventory to be found, there's not a lot of volume moving, it's a really good time to start getting out and doing some of those other more manual strategies, driving for dollars, door knocking, seeking opportunity. If opportunity is not coming to you, you got to go find it. And that's where like working with someone like Kayla, she's always watching this stuff. Like she's got her just nose to the ground on when opportunities are coming up. And I think that's really important, is to have a great power team so that when you're sitting here thinking, what the hell, there's no inventory, like Kayla's checking in on this stuff and making sure that she's ready for you. So this, it's times like this in the market where your power team really, really, really matters.
I think that's a really great segue because, nothing on the market brings me to this. So this is, when you look at Realtor.ca.
What is this?
This is every single multifamily that exists in Niagara. Well, this
awesome.
map shows St. Catharines, Thorold, and Niagara Falls, and a tiny bit of Fonthill. We can get into it. We can do all of Ontario. That's no problem. But the hearts are the ones that I've picked out that I like. But the reason I am bringing this to the people that are watching this. So this is just multifamily. We can do this for mixed use. We can do this for industrial. We can do this for any type of commercial real estate that exists. However, if you are looking for a multifamily, commercial multifamily to be specific, we can go out and find it for you. So we need to know what you want. Maybe you want 5 units, maybe you want 10, maybe you want 150, whatever it is, we can find it because these are all the things that we have access to. So we need to know what you need and you want so we can go out and find it. We can also get those deals underwritten for you so you know exactly what you're getting into. It just takes us knowing what people want. And I think that there's a bit of a disconnect between, the buyer and maybe the realtor, in that we don't always know what people are looking for because they don't see it on Realtor.ca, so they think it doesn't exist. It does exist. It just takes a little bit of extra work to go out and find it for you and find a seller that's willing to part with it.
Yeah.
The other reason I bring this to people's attention is because a lot of people are wondering what's happening in these spaces in terms of sale prices. And most of these, even when they are for sale, don't go on Realtor.ca. So if you want a weekly update of, what has sold, what's come up, what the trends are, it's something we can get to you, but we need to know you want it.
There you go.
I'm here to say if you have something in mind that you're looking for, and you can give us any of your parameters, if it's a cap rate, if it's an amount of units, if it's whatever it is, and we will take our time to go out and find it for you. So that's what this is.
That's awesome. It's hard to get anything you want without asking. So this is a fantastic way to start.
So reach out to us. All of our information will be below the video. And if you're looking for something specific, let us help you find it. And this is just a snippet because right now, if you look, it seems like there's no multifamily in Niagara, but there is, I promise. It's just not on Realtor.ca.
Yeah, I love that. And again, too, when things are off Realtor.ca and you can approach the conversation on the offense, it's a lot easier to start talking about terms and having negotiations that are favorable to you, right? Like you can bring your terms to a potential seller and say, here's what I'm trying to accomplish, and skip a lot of the noise that sometimes happens when you're on the market and there could be bidding wars, there could be people with competing terms and prices and closing dates and things. And it's really nice to be on the offense like this and seeking out a property and saying like, hey, we're here to make you an offer. Would you like to hear it? People are a lot more receptive when that happens. And I think that's a real advantage is going out and creating opportunities for yourself and obviously leveraging your power team to do that, like working with Kayla.
So that is, I will leave you with that because I think that's probably the most important part of this. Out of everything I've said today, help us help you.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Kayla.
Of course.
We need help. I can guarantee you that. So, Kayla, I really appreciate you coming again on the channel. I know we took a bit of a break for the summer, but we're back, baby, and it's going to be fall market here soon. I'm hoping to see more listings. I'm hoping for more volume. I'm hoping for rate drops. I'm hoping to see something exciting happen this fall. And Kayla's going to be right here every single month updating you guys on the numbers so that you can stay in tune with what deals are coming up on the market, what's going on with the price. And we'll also talk about Niagara news because Kayla's always up on that when it comes to employment news, when it comes to infrastructure and development. So Kayla, appreciate having you back on the channel. We'll see you back here next month.
Thank you.